everyone, and welcome to Underneath It All, the Nine Inch Nails podcast, episode 6, I believe we're up to. I'm right, guys? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Karen, your host, and with me tonight are Brian.
Hello.
And Jeff.
Hola.
Okay, today is the long-awaited, or at least somewhat awaited, Attention Tour episode, because now everybody on the podcast has seen Attention Tour date. But before we get to discussing what we liked and disliked about the tour, there's actually a fair amount of news this time around. But before we even get to Nine Inch Nails news, we have important Underneath It All news, because if you didn't know, I actually interviewed Richard Patrick for our last episode, and we actually haven't had a chance to discuss that yet, so I thought maybe we'd do that real quick. I mean, I thought it was really interesting. I ended up changing the trajectory of my questions a whole bunch of times just because I kind of wanted to go in the direction he wanted to go and didn't want to just try to be kind of talking over him and everything. But I've interviewed a lot of people for my old job, but mostly I interviewed politicians and small business owners and just people who had a very different way of presenting themselves. So I kind of felt like I was sort of out of my elements a little bit, but in the end, I thought he was a really cool guy and he had some interesting things to say. Jeff, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I like that he went into the history with Trent Reznor. It was also, he could talk, that's for sure. You did good with the questioning, and it was just nice to hear all that past stuff. I knew some of the things, but then also the way they met, I had not ever heard that story, so that was kind of cool. And other than that, I think you did a great job.
Thanks. I wasn't really fishing for compliments by interview. Although he did warn me at the very beginning. He was like, I tend to go on. I was like, oh, that's fine. That's great. But no, it was fine. Brian?
I love that he went on for an hour and 15 minutes or whatever. It was really cool, and he was just very giving in that sense. He wasn't just trying to answer your question or whatever. It was just whatever set him off, he would just go. And I think we definitely got some Trent stories that no one's ever heard before. Every once in a while I'm listening to it going I've read a lot of articles and stuff. I've never heard that story before. I just thought he was just a really grateful person. I really liked hearing him talk at the end about how much it means to him when someone says, anything from, my buddy in the army died, but he got to see you guys and it made him really happy, to somebody just being like, oh, I was just driving in the desert and your song came on and it made me smile. Even that can still put a smile on his face, after he's been doing this for 20 years and stuff. And I just thought it was really cool to hear his crazy zany stories and hear him going off, but then also be centered and really adult about things at the same time.
Yeah. Did you guys find the tapeworm revelation as hilarious as I did?
I thought what was more hilarious was him being like 5 minutes later, you're like, so what did you do, blah blah blah, and he's like, I'm still trying to figure out why you're laughing about tapeworm. I felt bad because I honestly, when he said that at first, I was like, I honestly thought maybe he was kidding, because he was like, right. Oh, I hear Nine Inch Nails fans get all worked up about this tapeworm nonsense,
Yeah, he had no idea.
And then it took me a minute to be like, oh, you're serious? Wow, maybe, okay, let's switch gears. All right. But obviously want to thank Richard Patrick for agreeing to be interviewed on our podcast. That was really cool.
Absolutely. Yes.
And hopefully there'll be more interviews.
Hopefully, who knows?
Who knows what the future holds? We're being smug assholes right now.
Yeah, that's what we do best.
All right, on to actual Nine Inch Nails news. This is pretty important. Nine Inch Nails actually made its network television debut on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and it's hard to believe it's actually been, it has been this long without Nine Inch Nails being on network television. They've been on cable television, but not network. But that finally happened earlier this month. I actually have mixed feelings about this, but you know what? Brian was actually had the privilege of being in the audience for that performance, so I'll let him take the lead here.
I mean, there's not much to talk about in terms of the actual experience of being there that you couldn't see on TV. You go, and I went for Perfect Circle 2 years ago when they played, and you go and you line up, and then you go in and you have to stand there and watch the entire Kimmel taping on a monitor, which is awkward. And then a crazy warm-up guy comes out and says, are you ready for the Nine Inch Nails? And we're like, you must really like this band. You know their name and everything. And then they came out and they played 5 songs. They played Various Methods of Escape and All Time Low, which first was aired, the second you can find on YouTube. And then they played Sanctified and The Hand That Feeds and Came Back Haunted. And I was really so convinced that they were going to do Came Back Haunted and like The Hand That Feeds for the taped shows and then whatever, and then do whatever afterwards. So I was really happy that they did stuff that, we don't have any pro shot footage of, and stuff that I just feel like, more people, it's more accessible to fans. They're not just going to be like, oh yeah, we've heard that song on the radio and it's not that impressive or whatever. So that made me really happy. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything, it wasn't like really weird seeing Nine Inch Nails playing with a Jimmy Kimmel like logo on the stage or anything. It was just kind of like whatever. It was only like, when they go to a commercial break, they kind of have to stand on the stage for a couple of minutes, and that was a little bit weird because you're just not used to it. You're used to everything being like bam, 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 but it still was, you adapt to it pretty quickly, and yeah, so it was a good experience.
So like when they go to commercial breaks, did the band like play cards or something? I mean.
No, it's not. I mean, there's not a commercial break after the song. It's more just like they get up on stage and they kind of wave, and then they have to stand there for like 30 seconds until they're ready until like Jimmy does his introduction. Because the way they do it is, Jimmy films his introduction and then the camera pans to the band, so it has to be immediate. But then after they played the song, they just took like another 30-second break, and then they just did the rest of their set. So I mean, it wasn't like them standing around forever. It was just them standing around for longer than you're used to seeing.
Okay, I just like the idea of, even though this isn't what happened of the band having to stand there for a while, and Trent just awkwardly being like, so, seen any good movies lately?
Right.
I like making up Nine Inch Nails fan fiction about things that didn't really happen, apparently. Jeff, what did you think of this performance, or what we were able to see of it on television?
Yeah, I watched it on television, but it was a little underwhelming to me. I think it's because we're kind of in the internet age. Like when I think of like Nin performances on television, I always think of The Fragile on MTV, the music awards.
Right.
And I think at that point in time, it was 99 probably, or 2000, one or the other. The internet, you couldn't see all those live videos or anything, and it was something new. And so when I saw it now, it was kind of just like, been there, done that. I love Various Methods of Escape, but I almost rather they've done something more like upbeat or energetic for the live TV performance, I guess. I'm thinking maybe even Came Back Haunted. I know that was their first single, but I think Came Back Haunted would have played better on television, perhaps. I also think I wish they would have done something more with the visuals to just like display what they are actually doing on the tour. I don't know how the stage was for Brian.
Yeah, it's a really small stage.
Yeah,
there's no way.
I figured it was too small, but I wish they would have been able to pull something like that off. But it was still nice to see Trent. I loved when he jumped on piano for Various Methods, and then I loved Cortini on the xylophone or whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
When they showed a close-up of him. And the band sounded great, and Lisa and Charlotte were also awesome.
Awesome.
But
yeah, it was mixed weird. Like, when I saw it, it sounded amazing live, and then when I watched the video, I just was like, this doesn't sound. And I think that's what, Various Methods is a pretty wayward, kind of meandering song already, but then also when you don't have the mix that you should have, it just kind of keeps it having that oomph to it.
Yeah, okay. See, this is my issue with it, because when we did the Hesitation Marks episode, I said I love Various Methods of Escape, and I still do. That hasn't changed, but the way it was mixed, you really had a lot of trouble making out what Trent was saying, and it just wasn't the best way to present that song. And given that it was almost like the mix that we got on Jimmy Kimmel wasn't good enough for like a more subtle song. So for that reason, I almost wish they'd done Came Back Haunted or something like that, just because it would have popped more on screen. Because we actually don't get television in my apartment. We just use the internet for everything. So I had to call my parents and ask them to record Jimmy Kimmel live. So,
Nice.
a couple of weeks ago, I go over to my parents' house, and Mom's like, "Oh, I taped your Nine Inch Nails for you." So I'm watching it, and she's watching it next to me. She doesn't really like Nine Inch Nails, but she really likes the Social Network soundtrack. So she's like, she's at least aware of the fact that she thinks Trent is a talented musician. But so we start watching the song, and I'm like, oh, they picked this song? I guess that's good. I mean, I like it, but that's an interesting choice. And then my mom's like, I can't hear him. I can't hear what he's saying. I can't hear what he's saying. So it's entirely possible that my experience of Nine Inch Nails on network television was ruined by my mother refusing to shut up. But the thing is,
Speak up, we can't hear you.
But the thing is, I was sitting there thinking, she is kind of right. I mean, if it's going to be a song where it's not very loud and upbeat and energetic, where a lot of it is kind of hearing the soulfulness of the lyrics of the vocal. If you can't hear the vocals that well, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, I feel like if they're gonna do like a slower song or something like that, I'd rather them almost just do it in studio and like have a breakdown of like unplugged Nine Inch Nails there instead of what they did. But
Right.
I wish they probably, if they would have played maybe Satellite or Into or even Everything, I think it would have been really ballsy if you pulled off Everything at Kimmel.
Yeah.
But then,
Satellite would have been a great choice, I think.
Yeah.
but then I watched All Time Low, and I thought it was so much better. It came across so much better. I don't know if it was the mix or just it was better suited to the environments or what, but I thought it would have been awesome if they played that on TV. So I kind of have mixed feelings. But on the other hand, I don't want to be like whining, bitching fan, just like, Nine Inch Nails didn't play the song I wanted. I mean, like, I think we really didn't expect them to go on network television. So the fact that they did this at all and possibly garnered some new fans is a positive in my book. It's just, as a fan, for me personally, I think it could have been better. How much of that is on the Nin Camp and how much of that is Jimmy Kimmel Live is just not very good with their audio production. I don't know.
Well, yeah, same thing happened with Perfect Circle. If you go and watch their Weak and Powerless performance, and then listen, actually, any Perfect Circle fans out there, they're streaming their new live album today. So if you listen to the Kimmel performance and then listen to what they put out for their live album, you'll see how just weak the Kimmel production is.
Yeah, and it's weird because before I interviewed Richard Patrick, I was watching some Filter performances, and I watched a performance of Filter on Letterman, and I think 1999 or thereabouts, and I thought it sounded really good. So it's like, I don't think audio recording technology has gotten worse. I don't know, maybe it's sloppiness, but just something.
Kimmel has the outside stage and everything. It might just be that they don't have as much to their disposal as a studio that's sort of self-contained does.
Yeah, it really might be that simple, that it's the outdoor stage. But, as much as nitpicks aside, I'm still glad Nine Inch Nails did network television. I'd still probably lose my shit if they did Letterman or Saturday Night Live or something one of these days.
Right.
I know it's probably not going to happen. This is probably as good as we're going to get, but, hope springs eternal.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, just out of curiosity, if you could have picked which late night show Nine Inch Nails could have gone on, which would you have picked, Kimmel, or would you have picked a different show? Brian?
I mean, Kimmel and Letterman are the only ones that have stages worth a band like Nine Inch Nails. And Letterman, it's only when they do their outside shows, and those are usually during the day. So I mean, I think Kimmel just by default, like seeing Nine Inch Nails in an indoor stage in like a little little corner of the studio, like they do on Conan or Fallon or whatever, just would seem really weird. So I think that Kimmel's just the only late night show that allows for bigger bands like that.
Yeah, I agree. I would have Kimmel or maybe who was it, Fallon? I like Fallon. Maybe have Trent play with the Roots or something. Maybe something, break it down.
All Time Low with the Roots. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be badass.
I kind of would have liked the Colbert Report, although I know logistically it probably would have been a nightmare, but I still would have liked it. So.
Well, Colbert Report would have been cool with like what they did with Radiohead, where he actually spends an hour talking to him and then they do some songs and that kind of thing. Like that would lend itself. That would make more sense why they were playing a small stage, because the performance is only part of why they're there.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that could theoretically still happen, right? Maybe?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I can... I'll
Dream.
keep hoping. Alrighty, so Also, during that performance, it was not televised, but Nine Inch Nails did sound check All the Love in the World. So what was it like hearing that live?
It was like, it was blue balls is what it is, because I heard it from the other side of a fence and I got really happy, and then I saw the actual taping, and then they didn't play it, and then I saw them play 28 songs the next night at the Staples Center and they didn't play it. So I'm like, I guess technically it's like, you know, I've been to Iceland twice, but I never left the airport, so I don't count that I've been to Iceland. It's kind of the same thing. I'm like, I kind of heard it live, but it wasn't real.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, apparently some people in Texas were luckier than you, because Nine Inch Nails performed All the Love in the World live at two venues. I believe it was San Antonio and Phoenix, and I don't know why Texas is so friggin' lucky. What has Texas done that was so nice for anyone? Really?
Phoenix is actually the northwestern part of Texas.
Wait. Oh, God damn it! I knew that. I swear to God.
What's going on?
Okay, what has the Southwest done that's nice for anyone? Anyway. But yeah, I just watched a clip of that on YouTube. I actually watched both from Phoenix and San Antonio, and I really liked it. And I think a lot of people, on some level, once Lisa and Charlotte's presence in the band was announced, were kind of waiting for this song. So
yeah, I certainly was.
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't something I consciously thought about, but then when I heard, they finally played All the Love in the World, and it's like, oh well, of course, now is the time to do this. So
yeah, you know, when I heard they rehearsed with it back in 05 and then didn't play it, it's really frustrating. But then when you hear that rehearsal audio of it from 05, you're like, oh, okay, it doesn't sound very good. You know, you've got like Twiggy and Aaron North trying to like sing what Lisa and Charlotte are now doing, and then Trent trying to do his like falsetto back and forth, which he doesn't actually do now when they're playing it, you know. And I think that it wasn't the right time, and now is absolutely the right time. So that made me really happy. And also, talking about the videos, somebody on Echoing the Sound, if you go under the I think the Tension Tour like sub thread or whatever, somebody is putting together multicam edits of the Rare songs, and the first one he did was All the Love in the World. So not only can you watch the video of it, you can actually watch like a multicam video of it with pretty good audio. So that made me happy.
That's awesome. We'll definitely check that out. Now I know I'm greedy, but now I'm just feel bad that I didn't get to hear it at the Barclays Center. I mean.
Right.
And I know it's kind of worse for you since you sort of got to hear it, so it's kind of
No, it's better. I'll take it. I'll take hearing it and not seeing it over not hearing it at all.
Jeff, I don't recall if we've discussed this before. Are you a fan of the song, or is it just kind of a meh one for you?
No, I am a big fan of the song. It almost made my top 5 back in our early days, I guess.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I was a huge fan of the song. I was so like it seems like the latter half of this tour is getting songs that are weren't played in the earlier part of the tour, so kind of pissed about that. But I think they played it down in Texas because it's a little more churchy down there. Get that churchy feel to it at the end.
That is true. It does have
the Fat Boy Slim breakdown.
Yeah, you got to get to that.
Every time I hear that piano, I just start going, "We come a long, long way together." And you can actually do it. We need the mashup right now.
So kind of a important milestone, because I think a lot of people were hoping for that song to be played one day live. I think a lot of people were hoping for it to be played live and for Trent to do the kind of vocal stuff he actually does on the album, but you know, that's kind of pie in the sky.
Yeah.
That would kind of be hard for any one person to replicate. Like, well, you know what? I'm sure maybe on like a really good day, Trent could sing All the Love in the World all by himself, but you just can't expect, you know, someone to be able to do that on like a consistent basis. Let's see, what other news do we have this week? Oh yeah, actually there's quite a bit of big news, because Nine Inch Nails has taped a performance that's going to air on PBS next year in 2014. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually pretty excited about this, because I think for a long time I wanted people to understand that Nine Inch Nails was good music, that it wasn't just screaming and the F word and whatever, but it just was never in the right format for people who liked different kinds of music to discover that, perhaps. But I think by being shown on PBS stations, a lot of people who would otherwise never watch Nine Inch Nails are going to see it, and they're going to see some of these songs, and they're going to be like, this is what Nine Inch Nails is? I have no idea, and they're going to be really into it. So I'm Plus, I get to see it too, and that's cool.
Yeah.
What do you guys think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me happy that Trent is. As much as maybe like 13-year-old me would be like mad about this, like it really makes me happy that Trent's on like NPR and on PBS now, and like is just being respected. Like he's adult enough to say this is totally fine, and then he's being respected for his work in different ways other than just your video was really crazy or whatever. So yeah, I agree. I think it'll be cool to hear my dad call me and be like, oh, I was flipping through my 3 channels and I saw your Nine Inch Nails playing. It's the same thing as like them doing Kimmel or them signing to Columbia Records. People are like, oh, what do you think about that? And I'm like, whatever, it's fine, I don't care. Like, I'm not like fuck the man, Rage Against the Machine, whatever kind of thing. It's just like whatever's good for your exposure and whatever feels right for you at the time, like go for it.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what how the presentation will be on PBS, but I remember when I was a little younger, Beck was playing on PBS, and it was just after he released Seat Change, and it was done very, very, very well. And I'm hoping it's somewhere along the lines of that, and just very intimate. And I don't know what songs they played, but I know that
hopefully they'll have a better audio mix than Jimmy Kimmel, but that's not asking
definitely
for a whole lot.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sure it will be.
The only thing I was concerned about, although concerned is maybe the wrong word, is I watch PBS. Again, I don't really have TV, but whenever I visit my parents, I usually end up watching some PBS, and they don't show cursing on our PBS affiliate that I'm aware of. And apparently it's different. It depends on which version of PBS you get. So I'm just wondering if like some versions of PBS are going to get like the balls out versions and some are going to get the constantly censored version. I'm just curious how that's going to work out.
It also could just be like you get the uncensored version online and you get the censored version on on TV or whatever.
Yeah, well, hopefully you know what's going to happen, though? I'm going to have to ask my parents to tape it when this airs again. And then my mom will be like, I can hear him this time. And I'll be like, yes, Mother, that's normal. That's how it's supposed to sound. Because I think she has this idea now that Trent sings very quietly.
Right.
Like, no, Mom, that's not how it is. Okay, so that's our Nine Inch Nails news segment. I guess we're ready to move on to actually talking about the Tension Tour. Let's see. First, I think we should all go through and give our general overall impressions of the show, which includes the visuals. And Brian, it's the freshest in your mind, so why don't you start us off?
Well, the big, I have sort of general, Karen's what not to do at a Nine Inch Nails concert, kind of things. So, in terms of my actual experience, get that out of the way. The exciting thing was we showed up to the Staples Center and they said, please note that tonight's performance is being filmed. So we go in and sure enough, there's cameras everywhere. And so that means hopefully that we will get a Attention DVD and Blu-ray, and either they're filming other shows or this is the only one they filmed and it'll be the show. But either way, that was really exciting.
If that's the case, though, doesn't this mean this is the second time you've been at a Nine Inch Nails DVD taping?
Sure. They also filmed the Wiltern show back in 2009, and other than releasing one song, have not actually done anything with it. So that makes me concerned.
Oh well, I was just saying you were at where they filmed And All That Could Have Been. You were at that show, right?
Huh?
No, weren't you at the show where they filmed the visuals for the And All That Could Have Been DVD?
That was over a few shows.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't think so.
Gotcha.
It could have been recorded there. Did they record any of the Tension tour in Las Vegas? I had heard rumors about.
Everybody thought they would because they were playing 2 nights there, but
okay.
I haven't been following along to actually know if they actually did.
That's cool. I hope we do get a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I don't know how they'll capture all those visuals, but it will be amazing, I'm sure.
Yeah, and he was just on point on my show. I just felt like, when we were watching the festival shows, you would get some that were just normal, and then some where you're like, man, he is into it tonight. And that's how I felt. Like the angry songs, he was so angry, and the dancey songs, he was so dancing and grooving and having fun, and the slow songs, he was so intimate, and I just, it's great to watch somebody you've been watching for 20 years and have them do something that kind of surprises you or excites you or just makes you go like, yeah. Like during Find My Way at the end, like after the vocals are over and there's just instrumentals, he's like got his hands out and he's like kind of conducting the sound, like raising it up and bringing it down. It looked like he was tickling two giant balls basically on his sides, like just had his hands out like grasping and was like going up and down, and it was a good show to tape, except for the fact they didn't play All the Love in the World, which means we won't get it on the thing. But they played every Hesitation Mark song except for Everything, obviously, and I Would For You. So we're gonna get almost every new song on the show, on the tour. Again, this is all assuming that they actually released this video, but but we're gonna get all those songs on there. So yeah, it was just a on point performance.
I'm glad it was showing off for you.
Yeah.
Trent's like, Ryan's in the audience. I can't afford to screw this up. But what are your things not to do at a Nine Inch Nails concert, though? I'm dying of curiosity.
All right. Yeah, like, first of all, I definitely left with more of other people's sweat on me than my own. That's a given, because, eventually I started sweating when it got like crazy, but before then I was like, there's already a lot of sweat on me and I'm not sweating, so that's fun. The weirdest thing, I just sort of forget. I guess it's been a while since I've seen Nine Inch Nails in a public setting, meaning like when you go to see the Wave Goodbye shows, you're getting like 80% crazy diehard fans, and then 20% of people who are like, some girl wrote some angry thing about how they didn't play Closer or Hurt at the Wave Goodbye shows, and how they started at 7:00, and they're like, yeah, that's because he said he wasn't going to play Closer or Hurt, that they were going to start at 7:00. Like, read. And she's like, I didn't know how to do research before going to a show. And I'm like, well, if you're going to pay $100, and speaking of people paying $100, like, I was in the pit front and center, which means anybody else who's standing next to me, they had to pay $117, and they had to wait in line for quite a while. And then they're saying stuff like, first of all, they're just talking through the songs. I'm like, they're on now. Like, the band that you've just been waiting 5 hours for, like, it's happening. And they're just like, where do you want to meet up later? I got to take a piss. And I'm just like, guys, like, what did you come for? Then people being like, man, I just thought we were coming to see a rock show. I didn't realize we were getting a light show. I'm like, yeah, that's this new thing Nine Inch Nails has been doing since, what's today, Friday, since 2005. Like, are you not paying attention? Like, what are you doing here? What's with the backup singers? Like, well, first of all, I don't know what your question is. What's with them is that they're there to sing.
They exist.
They're there. They exist, and in my mind, they're making it better. So, but well noted. I'm glad you noticed that they were there.
The answer was in your question, sir.
Right. There's always, like, you're gonna get pushing and shoving and everything, and I'm starting to turn into an old man where I'm like, sir, this is a rock show, please don't bump into me. But like, it's one thing when you have people like who are up against you or kind of holding on to you for support or whatever. It's another when the guy in front of you, like, nobody is pushing him and he's just kind of taking a nap on your chest. Like, he's just completely pushing up against you. I'm like, nobody is shoving you right now. Why are you hanging out right here? Like, my chest is reserved for certain people to hang out on, and you are not one of them. You can stand up and actually enjoy yourself. Lastly, this guy in front of me, who his girlfriend or person he just met, who knows, is just like, has her hands in the air, but she's holding on to her, so she's just kind of like a rag doll, and every time she moves back and forth, her hand's hitting one of us in the face. Like, the only way I could tell that she was alive was because she was doing middle fingers the whole time. I don't know what she was railing against, but she seemed to be pretty against whatever it was. Then, what's that?
She was railing against life. Probably.
Against life, yeah. And again, I'm an old. Drugs, the rock concert is no place for drugs, kids. Like, come on. But then he was moshing with her in one hand, and like his other hand, like, as his guard hand. So he's jumping around in circles with her just flopping all over the place, and he's like fighting off people, which is actually kind of impressive. Yeah, but still, like,
multitasking.
Yeah, just wake up and watch the show that's happening.
You know, I had thought at one point, did I do the wrong thing by getting seats to the concert instead of being in the pit? No, I did the exact right thing. Because I
Right.
would not have been able to tolerate that.
Yeah, part of me was so happy to be up close and everything, and part of me was just like, fuck all of you. Like, every 1 in 5 people are actually here to watch the show, and the rest of you are here to mosh or to just be as high as possible, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have been close to the stage and had that experience, but I think, you know, my list of things not to do at a Nine Inch Nails concert would have taken up like 3 hours, and it just wouldn't have been fun for anybody.
Right.
All right, so Jeff, what about your overall impressions?
Oh, the overall impressions. Let's see. My show was like over a month and a half ago. It was on October 5th. I was in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Wolstein Center. That's where Cleveland State University has most of their events happening. When it opened up, it starts every show, or most of the shows now are opening up with Copy of A. And I kind of wish they would start with Eater of Dreams before that, kind of to build the tension, I guess, and not to use that word, but I mean just to build it up, because it works so well. Like the transition on the album works so well. I'm kind of wonder why they don't do it live. Other than that, it was a good mix of old classics and newer stuff. The highlights for me for my show were Into the Void, Burn, Even Deeper, In This Twilight, While I'm Still Here.
Oh man, you got In This Twilight?
Yeah, I got In This Twilight. That was
I
awesome.
hate
Yeah, I did too.
Like the encore for me was Even Deeper, In This Twilight, While I'm Still Here, and Hurt, and it was
Yeah, same for me.
fucking wonderful. The surprise though for me out of all the songs that I enjoyed was Disappointed. I'm not a huge, like, on the album it's a good song, but something about it live, I think it's like a mix of the visuals, because I think it's visually the best song, or the best visuals for any song that I saw in the whole show.
I don't understand how that cube is even happening. Like, I took video on my phone and I was showing it to my friends, being like, there's only 2 LED screens. How is there a cube surrounding the band that's moving?
Yeah,
What's happening?
it just looked amazing to me, and I think there's some sort of like, just the way it's performed live, I just enjoy his vocal delivery on it live more than I do so on the album.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because Disappointed was the song I was hoping when I heard it live maybe it would like click for me in a way it hadn't. It was just like, nope, this is pretty much what I expected it to sound like. And then I was during the song, I found myself wondering, I wonder what they're gonna play next. So it just didn't quite click for me. I don't know if maybe
I was in the pit, and the majority of the people seemed to enjoy it. I was surprised at how many people got into Copy of A and Disappointed. There was quite a bit of people getting into the newer stuff, which I enjoyed.
Right.
They played the regular live stuff at my show: March of the Pigs, Terrible Lie, Wish, Head Like a Hole, and they played Hurt. And then they played 1 Million, but I wish, which is fine live because it's a great song, but I kind of wish they would throw different songs from the slip in, maybe like Head Down, or which they're doing now. That I think they just started playing Echoplex on one of the shows. I wish they'd play like Demon Seed with this lineup. I think it would be really something great.
I wish
We all
they'd
wish
play.
they played Demons.
See, I wish they'd play Discipline, but you're both scowling at me over the internet. Meanwhile, while Max is editing this, he's fist pumping. Like, yeah, Discipline.
No. I love Discipline 1,000 times more, or 1 million times more than A Million.
Oh,
Put it that way. I think Discipline's a really fun, cool song. I think A Million is a boring, like, I don't care song.
I like A Million because it's kind of like a superhero song to be like, I'm on every rooftop.
Other than that, I've been keeping track of some set lists during this tour, not a lot lately, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised that they've been playing a lot of The Fragile too during this tour.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that means that we're gonna get a re-release soon of it. But
Well, I don't know if there's any.
soon.
I don't know if there's necessarily any correlation between the two, but I mean, I certainly hope so. Pause for thought. Okay, just for the record, I totally hate both of you for getting In This Twilight, because that was on my bucket list and I didn't play it in Brooklyn. So, and I haven't gone on YouTube to watch any versions of it from this tour, because I'm like, no, I don't even. It's not going to be the same.
It was the same backdrop as they did back in 2008, like with the city, like being destroyed in the like behind the band.
Yeah.
So you're not getting anything.
Were the backup singers involved in that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really happy. Like, one of my highlights was that they were, they played 28 songs in my show, and they were on stage for probably 22 of them or something, and like, I didn't want them to be on stage for Somewhat Damaged or Wished or whatever, but then when they're on stage for like Even Deeper and Survivalism and The Big Come Down and that kind of thing, you're like, yeah, this, they don't sound completely out of place. Like, they're not doing some funky soul thing. Like, they're just doing some ambient tones, and there were moments where they were amazing because they did, we'll talk about that later, but where they really went off. But even when they were just there as sort of background noise, they didn't sound out of place, and they just really added to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sure Trent was the one that came up with the idea. Well, if not, I'm gonna give him the credit. But those backup singers, I think, add a lot to the show. I thought the visuals were great, and I expected that from Nine Inch Nails, but the backup singers really do add a different dimension to the whole band.
Yeah, my only kind of disappointment with the show, other than not seeing In This Twilight, was that I kind of wished I could hear the backup singers better, and I get that they're backup singers, they're kind of supposed to be in the background, but and I mean, I thought the show sounded really good overall. Like, all the angry songs sounded so loud and crunchy, and all the quiet songs you could really hear all the subtle things going on. So on the whole, I thought it really sounded good, but I just felt like maybe the backup singers were just a little bit muddy in the mix, and I almost wish they would do a studio album with the backup singers.
Right. Yeah, I feel that way too. I really hope if they put out a DVD that they raise them in the mix a little bit.
Yeah, In This Twilight, they really are at the forefront towards the end of the song, and
Okay, now you're torturing.
you'll have to you'll just have to catch it on the Blu-ray camera.
Yeah.
And how are they levitating in that song?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't know if it was ropes. I don't know what it was.
All I'm gonna say is that damn well better be on the Blu-ray, and there damn well better be a Blu-ray, and it damn well better be soon. Damn. Anyway, oh yeah, my overall impressions of the show. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything radically different. I mean, I thought Trent was really into it and on point at my show too. I don't know if he was more on point than he was at yours, Brian, but
He was probably more on point at mine.
For sure.
We can assume it was
And he
about
played-
on par.
And he played In This Twilight for Brian, so.
Yeah,
they
all right.
filmed.
I think it's clear he likes you better because you played.
I'm in a lot of close-up shots too, where they just film they didn't film the audience, they just filmed my face.
And as they're playing In This Twilight, there's one tear that's going down his cheek.
I'm too busy just boiling over with jealousy of Brian now. I can't even think about Nine Inch Nails anymore.
I'm used to it.
Let's see. And I remember before I kind of got back into Nine Inch Nails again, I didn't end up seeing any of the Wave Goodbye shows or anything like that, but I watched some YouTube clips of them. I didn't watch whole shows, but I watched a song here, a song there, and I figured, it's not that I don't think this is good and I wouldn't have enjoyed being there, but I just don't feel like this is Nine Inch Nails 100%. It just kind of seemed like it was just a little bit by the numbers, I guess, whereas I felt with this show, it was like everybody was totally into it, and they were totally trying to do the best version of the song that they could at that moment,
Right.
Yeah.
So I just my only disappointment, well, In This Twilight is a disappointment, but a different kind of disappointment was Disappointed.
And yeah, Disappointed was a disappointment.
Exactly, yeah, because I was kind of hoping I would hear that song and I would get a whole new dimension on it, but no, not really. I'm trying to remember anything else. And Copy of I love that song. I don't think they did the best version of it at the Barclays Center because there's some variation in how Trent does the vocals, and sometimes he really sings it full out, and sometimes it's just kind of like a copy of. So, but yeah, and I kind of had mixed feelings about the visuals because it's not that I didn't think they were good, but I don't really go to concerts other than Nine Inch Nails, so I don't really have anything to compare them to.
Right.
I was just kind of like, well, I'm inside an Xbox, and it's kind of cool, I guess, but...
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, they probably could have not done the visuals, and I probably would have been just as happy, because it's like Nine Inch Nails is the only rock concert I go to, so once I start playing, I'm just like, oh my god, Nine Inch Nails! So... And I ended up making it late for the opening act because we had to meet my friend who was coming from work and she was late. So it was it Godspeed Black Emperor for you guys also, or was it a different act?
Was it Explosions in the Sky for me?
Yeah, Explosions in
Okay.
the Sky for me also.
Oh, okay, so we can't really discuss the opening act because I remember thinking during what I caught of the opening act on my show, like, I would probably like this in another setting, but right now I'm just so hyped to see Nine Inch Nails. I'm just kind of like, okay, finish playing. You're done. You're done now, aren't you? Finish. So.
Yeah, the tricky thing with Explosion in the Sky is they're an instrumental band. So they were really solid and really good, but I just don't want to sit there and stare at that for 40 minutes, like nobody does. And like we all kind of were saying that to each other. We're like, we'd have nothing against this band, but like that was one really long song.
Yeah, Godspeed, You Black Emperor is kind of the same way too. I don't know if they were all instrumental, but I seem to most of what I remember is definitely instrumental.
Are they all on Columbia? And maybe that's the reason they were chosen for the tour.
Probably. What kind of music is Explosions in the Sky?
It's an instrumental like post rock kind of band.
Yeah, like heavier than Pink Floyd, but less heavy than like Tool or somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Somewhere in like instrumental Pink Floyd, but more rocky.
Okay, so I think both opening acts are kind of in the same genre, which makes sense.
Right.
Let's see. I had written down here highlight moments and disappointments. Well, I didn't really mention my highlight moments. My highlight moments were Satellite. I just thought that was the best use of the visuals. I couldn't even tell you what was going on with the visuals in Satellite. I just felt like it just meshed really well with the music. And While I'm Still Here, because that was a song where I was like, this sounds awesome on the album, but is this going to be really underwhelming when I hear it live? But no, I thought it was awesome live with the saxophone and just all the little subtle moments that make that song great were there in the live version. So those are my two highlights. Any other highlights you guys want to mention? Because you kind of mentioned them a little bit in passing. But
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would. Did you guys probably both Came Back Haunted? I'm guessing. I think they probably played it at every show. I did like. I was in the pit. I was standing further back though, but I did like the visuals of it seeming like there's a ghost above him almost of himself, with the reflection of whatever's in front of him. Those were.
That's not there. So that must have been a ghost.
Yeah, it must have been. It scared me.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'll have to go back and look at the video.
Yeah, I don't specifically remember that. We got Came Back Haunted, but I don't know. There's something about the way he sings Came Back Haunted that I'm not keen on because I know he could do it so much better.
Yeah, mine was more.
Right.
Mine was more the visuals of that song than the actual song.
Trent Reznor in many ways has the worst fan base because we're always telling him things we think he could be doing better.
Sure.
We know you're capable of so much more, Trent. He's like, I hope you all die in a fire.
Yeah, I put this $1 million production together, you motherfuckers, and all you're gonna just tear it down.
Pretty much. Brian?
So my one of my big highlights was getting to see Into, which I know didn't happen until after you guys saw the thing. But I think one thing I screwed myself with was I tried to stay away from watching any videos, but I had to watch a couple. And after watching Into, when like every song wasn't just the best visuals ever, I was like, damn it, that I had to wait for Into to like get the visuals. But I mean, if you guys haven't seen the visuals of that song, like go check it out online. There's just like these red lines towering over the band, like the LED screens are on multiple levels, so it's like there's visuals right behind them, but then also visuals all the way at the top as far up as stuff can go. And then, for the song to be so kind of heavy, but then suddenly to go to the girls singing the Getting Harder to Tell the two of you apart, it was just really badass, and like everybody cheered when they sang, which I thought was really cool because even people who were like, "What's up with the backup singers?" are like, "Yeah."
Brian's just bragging now.
Yeah.
No, I saw Into also.
Did you?
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't think they had done it yet.
I did not get Into, sadly.
Unless my memory.
I'll cry myself to sleep now.
No, Karen, I have up all three of our set lists, and you are correct.
Okay, good, because it would be sad if my memory was that. Yeah, I really enjoyed that song as well. It just didn't quite have the same effect on me that While I'm Still Here did, because that to me was like a spiritual experience hearing that song.
Yeah, that's my other highlight was, when you talk about wanting to hear a studio version with the girls, like While I'm Still Here, well, I guess technically Black Noise especially, it's really insane just hearing them go off, especially Lisa, I think, is the one who's doing like all the crazy high stuff. And I apologize, Charlotte, if I got that wrong. But yeah, I mean, it just sounds amazing. Not only do you get Trent singing a very intimate song, then you get Josh Eustace playing a saxophone, and then you get these two women just singing their asses off, and just that sounded. I got concerned when they finished up and they came back for their encore and they played In This Twilight. I was like, shit, they're gonna play In This Twilight and Hurt, and that's gonna be it. But then they played While I'm Still Here, so they just did kind of 3 like album-ending songs in a row, which was great.
Wait, so which one did they play last at your show?
Hurt.
Okay, because they did that at Barclays also, and I think While I'm Still Here would have been a better ending.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's because we're jaded Nine Inch Nails fans.
Hurt almost feels like the obligatory ending at this point, where it's just like, well, for anybody here who doesn't know what the last 8 songs we just played, then I guess we should probably throw Hurt in there.
Yeah.
Because I had a friend who just came at the last minute, and I was like, have you heard the new album? And he's like, no, and I'm like, all right, you're in for a lot of new songs. But for him, he really enjoyed it. But it's for someone like him, it's like, even though he's not one of these people who's like, play Head Like a Hole, but like he wants to hear songs that he knows, so he gets rewarded for the occasional like, okay, good, you guys are actually playing that.
Right, and speaking of the saxophone in While I'm Still Here, I mean, my husband was with me at the show, and he's like a casual Nine Inch Nails fan. He likes some of the songs, doesn't like some of the others as much, but so he was like familiar with some of the songs on the new album, but really hadn't listened to it back to back or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we get up to While I'm Still Here, and then the saxophone comes out, and I hear my husband say something like, "A saxophone, really?" And he had not really said anything to me
Right.
for like the whole show. We just been like dancing together a little bit, and then just like, saxophone? What? It was pretty funny.
Although it is annoying because the first time I saw Nine Inch Nails ever was, when they played with David Bowie and Trent played the saxophone, and then David Bowie walked out. And every time I see a saxophone, I'm like, if Trent's not going to play this and David Bowie's not going to walk out, I don't care.
Yeah, actually, when I saw, I couldn't tell who it was playing the saxophone because I was too far away. I figured it was Josh, so it turns out I was right. But I was like, I'm kind of disappointed it's not Trent playing the saxophone, just because that would be another good thing to put on the bucket list. I saw Trent Reznor play the saxophone, so there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, anything else you want to say about the show before we move on to the future?
Do we want to go over some disappointments?
Oh, okay, I thought we kind of ended up
we haven't...
blending them
together,
yeah. But sure. Go for it.
Well, my only thing, I hate to say this, but this kind of, it's just kind of, I guess maybe it's just hard for me to be astonished anymore. Like, I think there were, people who didn't know what they were getting into left going like, holy shit, that was unbelievable. Like, and for me, I just kind of feel like after Lights in the Sky and after seeing Nine Inch Nails play in like 1,000-person venues up close and personal and all that kind of thing, it's just sort of like I see a show like that and I'm like, yeah, that was awesome. And like, there's nothing I would have changed. It was absolutely perfect. And for some reason, the only disappointment is that I didn't leave like being like, okay, I can die now. I just left going like, yeah, that was it. That was par for the course. That's what it should have been, And I think I just like, and I mean, that's not even a criticism as much as it's just like, maybe I just, I've just kind of hit my peak in that regard.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way when I saw Nine Inch Nails for the first time in 2005, and I was like, well, I'm glad I finally saw them live, but after having listened to them so much for over 10 years, and, I can't have that, like, mind-blowing, oh my god experience, because I know the catalog too well, and I'm not at the age anymore where I could have had that mind-blowing experience, because it would have been all new to me, and it's like, it is kind of disappointing in a way, but the trade-off is I have that kind of intimate relationship with the music that I've been listening to these songs for so many years that I have very personal associations with a lot of them. And that's something that I guess people who get those mind-blowing, oh my god, I can't believe concert experiences don't necessarily have. So right. I guess it's kind of a trade-off. Actually, I was just thinking about this other day that I think the most excited I ever was in my entire life was when I first got into comic books, when I first discovered like X-Men and stuff when I was 11. I was thinking about it and I was like, I have never been that excited about anything else ever since, and I probably never will be. And
Right.
it was kind of sad thinking that, but at the same time, when I think about how excited I was when I discovered comics, it still makes me happy just remembering that. So I kind of wish my Nine Inch Nails experience could have been like that, but you can only have so many experiences like that in your life, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think what Brian was saying, yeah, it is a little safe, and it is, like I said before, it is the internet age where you can see these things over and over again online, so you're kind of jaded when it comes to the stuff again. But I'm hoping, I guess we could segue into the future of the shows. They're going to Australia, South America, and Europe, correct? I think those are the next tours they've got lined up.
Well, I know
Yeah.
they just announced the UK. They're going to be in the UK in May. So.
Right.
Okay. But I'm hoping that they come back to the U.S. and I think they're playing it safe this kind of round with the songs because they have the new album they're promoting and everything like that, and they want to have that all out there. But when they come back to the U.S., I don't know if it'll be the next time, but maybe the next time after that, they maybe mix it up a little bit, play smaller venues, and play maybe some deep cuts and debut more songs. Maybe play like 10 rock songs and break it down and do kind of like an unplugged set for 10 more songs. See, I think that would kind of revive that live, because
that excitement. Yeah, maybe that's what it is that kind of like, you're excited to see the new visuals and stuff, but once you see their setup and once you see what they can do, then you're like, okay, and then you don't. It's like watching a 3D movie. Like 5 minutes in, you don't care anymore. You're just like, it's 3D, it's fine. And I think that's something that yeah, like you said, like if suddenly they're like, okay, we're actually going to do some acoustic songs now, or we're going to do like just something that like totally blows it out of the water. But it seems shitty to say that because they just are, did the best tour you could possibly ask for, and we're like, yeah, but what if you did this? But it might just be that we're just so used to it now. We're so used to just we're so used to perfection that we want to see something a little more risky or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I always hope with this podcast that when it comes to the point where we're getting very nitpicky about things, saying things we would have optimally liked better, I hope it's obvious that since we started a podcast about freaking Nine Inch Nails,
Right.
We really love Nine Inch Nails, and we're just nitpicking because we love it, not because we're pains in the ass.
I mean, I'm also an asshole, so that helps.
Let's see. I mean, my predictions and hopes for 2014 are along the same lines as Jeff's. I mean, I hope they come back to the U.S. and I hope they do some different stuff. But even if they don't come back to the U.S., if they do some different stuff in the international circuit, I mean, I'm sure some of that will be filmed, so we'd be able to enjoy that. I mean, maybe not professionally filmed necessarily, but it'll be filmed in some capacity. I'm actually, when I heard they were going to be doing Australia, I actually had this brief flutter of excitement because I have family in Brisbane and they're doing a show in Brisbane. And I was thinking, could I go visit my family in Australia who I haven't seen for like 15 years and see Nine Inch Nails at the same time, and maybe I'll see In This Twilight in Australia, and it'll be the best In This Twilight ever. And then I started thinking, but there's so many logistical reasons why that doesn't work. Like the airfare is really expensive, and my husband has to get time off from work, and I don't know if it's going to be convenient for my family, but I'm still kind of harboring the small hope that maybe I'll get to go to Australia and see Nine Inch Nails on top of it. I need to come up with a better excuse to go to Australia other than Nine Inch Nails is playing. Because people will be like, wait, didn't you just see Nine Inch Nails in New York? I'll be like, well, yes, but this is Australian Nine Inch Nails. This is completely different.
Yes, I did, but an argument to that point. Shut up.
Brian, what about your hopes for 2014?
Well, my big hope is that he's keeping the girls with him. I mean, that's always a weird thing when you're like, oh, we have 8 people in our band now. Or like, okay, are they available for all of next year? Because that's how long you're going to be touring. Or at least that he does something that it's not like. I just hope it's not them being like, well, now we're just back down to 5 people, but we're still going to play these songs, and they're just never going to sound as good because we're trying to do it ourselves. Whatever, And because that's kind of what you get when they do the Europe tour is like you get just. It's all toned down a lot of the time where you're like, yeah, you're going to play sets that aren't quite as long or quite as interesting as the ones you just did in the States. So it's nice when they can mix things up a little bit. And what I really liked about 09 was when they Rob did the onstage videos, which are like, that's my favorite my favorite live Nine Inch Nails stuff probably is the onstage videos, because you're right there. And then when they did stuff like with Gary Newman or Saul Williams or Dillinger Escape Plan, they knew they were going to do it, so he came out and filmed it. So not only do we get to see it, we get to see a really good sounding, really good looking version of it. And then the fact that he did that stuff, he's touring with Queens of the Stone Age, so hopefully he and Josh do some stuff together. Hopefully Queens plays the songs that Trent has guested on, which there's 2 of now, and Trent comes out and does stuff with them. And I'm hoping for more fun. I think when you do a tour like they just did, you kind of have to keep things segmented. But then when you go to Europe and you have to have less production, then you can kind of play around a little bit more. So hopefully they play.
Yeah, what do you guys think of the idea of them doing like a show where they didn't do any angry rock type songs at all and did all like Lights in the Sky, While I'm Still Here, in the Twilight?
Like a version of Still but live, like a different just breaking down songs that we hadn't even broken down before.
Well, I don't know if Still is quite the same thing, because on Still you still have things like The Becoming, which is very kind of raw and heavy and intense, and I'm talking more like almost like the softer side of Nine Inch Nails.
I would like that to an extent. It could probably be very depressing, I guess. So I would have to throw in stuff like The Becoming and but just broken down versions of maybe even other songs that we haven't heard broken down before. I think that would be really interesting.
I just think that would be a really cool change of pace, because not that I don't love the heavy songs, because I do, but I just think it would just be something really different, and maybe we'd get a chance to see some songs that we barely get to see played. And
I believe somewhere there's a good mix. There could be a good mix live of doing some hard stuff at first and then breaking it down and doing something in smaller venues, like at a House of Blues or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I guess what I'm just hoping for is just a wider variety in term. I was about to say a wider variety in terms of songs they play, and I was like, yeah, you and every other Nine Inch Nails band ever. Why would you even say that? I guess what I should say instead is maybe a wider variety of like concepts for shows, like just trying different things, whether it's visually different or
avoiding the singles. Maybe.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't like the singles either. It's just. All right, so are we done discussing Tension?
I think we might be.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so I guess we're ready to wave goodbye then. This has been Underneath It All, episode 6, and if you've seen In the Twilight live, and I haven't, well, you suck and I hate you, and that's the message I want you all to take away from this podcast.
Yeah, you could also listen to us on iTunes and www.underneathitall.org, not .com. And that's basically it. We love you. We love you all. Thank you for listening. Rate and review us. Send us messages privately about your absolute hatred for us. That's about it.
And publicly for your absolute love of us.
Yeah, either. Yeah, please.
Yeah, don't get those two confused. This is very important. We have to be organized about this. All right, bye guys. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.